brilliant fucking name. Hey guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to Alandressa for session 20! Session 20, the big 2-0. I hope everybody is doing well. We'll get into the recap shortly. For the time being, let's welcome the party. We've got today Mars, Tats, Katie, Shen, and B. No Stee today. How's everyone doing?
Great, how are you?
All right, all right.
Well, you might hear it in my voice.
Good.
I'm a little bit bunged up still. I'm coming off COVID. Coming off it like it's a, like it's a fucking addiction or drug or whatever. Yeah, I'm getting the cold sweats from it. No, I'm getting the hot sweats from it. But no, I have been rough with it, but it's my 6th time having it, so, it's just fucking normal shit. Same shit, different day these days. Not much that I can really say about it. Let's get into the recap, I guess. Let's do a full 20 recap, shall we? Now, I've been sick, as has been just discussed, and I have yelled at the party for constantly distracting me while I'm trying to type something, which, in the party's defense, they didn't know that I was typing it, so, the yell did come out of nowhere. But I will say that I was trying my absolute best to try and write something now, since I've been too sick to do it in the week since. But I will try my absolute best to figure things out as I go, and we will recap this in a roundabout, as much of a roundabout way as we can. Let's begin then. From merfolk of the churning oceans to giants beneath the rolling hills, authors have found tales to tell in the wonders of reality. But whose stories do they tell? A cleric of nature seeking adventure in the wilds? An ostracized elf with a draconic heritage? How about the tabaxi survivor of slavery? Or the rogue investigator with echoes of home? What about the wolfkin barbarian seeking a family outside of her own? Or the druid seeking connection among the people of the world? Each of these people started out in Ironfront, a city at the heart, at the core of an old warring world. Just coming off of that war and out of that age of darkness is the age that we're in at the moment. Of magic and life and fruiting and friendships and communication, but also of corporations and people selling others for money and for their furs. We see the remnants of some of those more evil sides of this land in front of us today, with the 6 companions who make up this party. Each of those went north from Ironfront after seeing the death of a prominent figure in the world, Big Red, and later seeing the death of Sir Curly, with echoes of an acolyte brotherhood that is a secretive rogue organization which seeks to bring about what seems to be Ragnarok. The group have been chasing their tails, trying to find head or tail of this whole thing, and unfortunately have come afoul of a Nordic-sounding man by the name of Ox, who has said in censors around the place, seemingly as far as you can tell, everywhere in the living world, that you guys are wanted for questioning and that you are on the run. Having managed to evade some guards, you spoke to the Valkyries on the mountainside and were confused, as were they, as to how you were able to see them in the first place. You then came down the mountain into where we currently find you, Kashala Port. And in Kashala Port, you were told by your cleric friend, Nobody, that there was something dark and terrible going to happen. And that They were seeking this place to find out for themselves what was going afoul in the air. What you found was an old man. A man crooked and bent in the back and the knee. A man carrying two umbrellas. A man walking into an orphanage. This man, who you mistook for an evil person, uh, was making one of the children scream. And without thinking, one of you grabbed for one of his umbrellas. This provoked a fight in which he tried to get out. He tried to tell you no. He tried to ignore you. He tried to get on with his business. He even tried at one point to just leave instead of killing one of you. And instead fell afoul of your ire, I suppose. And perhaps a little bit of confusion on your part. Unfortunately, as you have since learned, when the stars were blotted out in the sky and the life around you became catatonic and screaming together in unison, this similar looking man on horseback appeared at the tavern in which you were all sheltering. And this old man, who is a twin to the other old man with the umbrellas that you had just befelled, introduced himself as Death. That the man that you had felled, in fact, punishes those people who have lived terrible lives or are terrible people with nightmares, and rewards those who are good people with dreams. And in actual fact, is essentially this world's Sandman. He gives people rewards or punishment in their lives, and his brother, the one on horseback, gives them their final reward or punishment, their last ever dream, their endless dream in the endless night. This death figure has now told you that your souls are forfeit to him. That you, instead of being safe from his wrath, will instead find your souls forfeit to him if at any point you get reduced to 0 HP. In his words, you will not be able to be revived, should that time ever come. That means that going forward, mechanically, none of you will get the luxury of death saving throws. If you go to 0 hit points, you will not be incapacitated. If somebody reduces you to 0 hit points and with non-lethal damage, it makes no difference. You will be dead outright. And here we are. You have taken shelter in the house of a local businessman who has helped shelter Leopold with a job, with work, in the tavern. And you are staying there for as long as you need, as was his offer. You are now a group of fugitives, yes, but you are ever so slightly more powerful now, as each of you has leveled up by 1 to get to level 6. Stee isn't with us today. Victor is off doing Victor's things, and we will resolve that when Stee is back to the table next week. However, here we are. Now, we're going to go through what each of you are going to do for your downtime. For your level up, you will be having a week of downtime. And I would like to just explore that with each of you for what you feel would be, you know, your priorities and important moments, your important things. Shall we go with, first of all, Aldrin? What was Aldrin doing in the first few days of this downtime?
So Aldrin has been spending their time focusing on trying to control this kind of new to them poisonous toxic power that they've been figuring out how to manipulate through sprays previously, uh, and has tried to focus and concentrate it into a bit of an orb now to maybe do some more damage.
Yeah.
Also, they've taken off around the area a little bit, exploring the wildlife, exploring just locally,
Mm-hmm.
seeing if there's any poisonous insects or frogs around
Yeah.
that they might be interested to add to the collection that they have growing.
Very cool. And what was it that you took your extra level in, might I ask?
So that just went straight up into sorcerer.
Nice.
Yeah, we're
Um,
going full sorcerer with this one.
so, as you are spending your time out in the wilds, you see that there's a few more people sort of walking around the town now. Is there anything in particular that you would want to focus on as far as those people?
Um, well, Aldrin's not so much of a people person unless they have to get involved with them. Um, so maybe they would ask around if more on the outskirts of people to see about the area.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if there seems like there's any outliers, that's probably who they'd gravitate towards.
Cool. Outliers it is. Um, well, they're sort of walking through sporadically. Um, they seem to be in very different dress to each other, but every sort of half an hour to an hour, there's another person walking through. Is there anything about that that would sort of grab your attention, do you think, in the first few days here?
Mm, maybe the way they're dressed.
Okay. Well, give me a perception check.
Maybe.
They're sort of, they're dressed for appropriately for the weather. There's not really
Okay.
much more than that you can pass from what they are dressed in.
Mhm.
Would you go and speak to any of them? They're sort of, there's occasional pairs of them, but usually they're walking through on their own.
If yeah, if Aldrin saw somebody who was walking probably on their own,
Mm-hmm.
um, but had like head up and seemed approachable,
Okay.
they
There's
go
a
up.
there's a yuan T that's walking through, blue skin or scales, should we say, with sort of a floral kind of a pattern marking going down their back. They have wrappings that you see that are similar to what Ruby wears. So you could intimate that there's some kind of martial artist, but of class specific, you wouldn't be able to tell.
Mhm.
They seem like they're walking through. Are you interested? Like, what in particular are you taking interest in? They all seem to be going in the same direction.
Where might everybody be going?
Okay. What do you say to this Yuan T?
Uh, excuse me. Um, it
Yes.
seems that there's a lot of folks headed that way, uh, these days. Could you tell me, is there something going on? Or is there somewhere that a lot of folks are going right now?
Well, it's that time of year.
Time of year?
Are you not from this area?
No. I just recently came here.
Ah, very good. And how do you like the place?
So far, it's been quite interesting.
Yes, interesting
Lots
place,
to
isn't it?
learn.
Kshala. They sort of turn their mouth up in a smile at you. You see that their tongue sort of flicks in and out of their mouth.
Uh-huh.
They're staring at you.
So what's going on this time of year?
Give me an insight check.
Look at me.
12. They don't seem like they are really hiding anything from you. They're just sort of not really talking much.
All right. Well, thank you for talking to me.
No problem. Thank you very much. What was your name?
Aldrin, and yours?
I am Fluvio Maxed. Thank you.
Good to meet you.
They bow to you, fist in palm.
Aldrin kind of bows awkwardly back, a little confused look.
They put a hand on your shoulder and sort of try to stop you from doing it in a polite way, like, oh, please, there's no, like that kind of a thing. Like, there's no need to, try and mimic my customs, but it's respected. Give me a perception check as they walk away.
Little better.
You don't notice anything.
Alright. Aldrin would wander, kind of following after them, but not specifically after them necessarily. Like, just in the same general direction to see kind of where all of these folks seem to be headed.
Okay.
And if there's something like an event that's going on, because this time of year? What?
Yeah. Give me a survival check.
Survival.
They're headed east.
12.
You're getting a lot of 12s. They're headed east.
Okay. What's to the east?
Well, you know one thing that's to the east for sure, and that's the territory / country of Highfall. Highfall, yeah. So this area is sort of an Arctic climate because it's not really technically accurate to call it Arctic because there is no Arctic in this world, but you understand what I'm saying. It's like a snow biome. So this is the colder part of this continent, where it's essentially like the furthest south besides the state of Gorizont, which is over the water and has different sort of currents that keep it a more tropical climate. Over to the east, the southeast of this continent, though, it's very, very, very cold. The whole place is just covered in snow and ice, and the lake there is permanently frozen over. There's seems to be that everybody that's walking through here has been walking in the same direction, and they've all been going towards that country.
So to the even colder place.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sounds chilly.
They look behind them over their shoulder and wave goodbye to you cordially.
Bye-bye.
We'll move on to the next person. Ruby,
Alrighty.
how are you spending your first few days of downtime?
Ruby probably spends a lot of it to herself, I imagine, recentering with some monk practice. So whether it's, repetitively palm striking a tree or a boulder, that sort of thing. A bit of like physical resistance training.
Yeah.
That is to help some mental resistance training.
Nice. And for any of you that I ask, by the way, you're not obliged to tell me what level you've taken, like what class you've taken it in. I obviously know for all of you, but it's whether you would outwardly want everybody in the group to know. It's obviously metagaming for other people to react to it as their characters if they hear what you say now. So, you know, don't expect that if you say out loud what your class is, that you're going to be, you know, talked to about it by someone else in the party, because that would be cheating. What, however, with that in mind, have you taken your level in, Ruby?
Monk this time.
Nice. I absolutely love that. And Bane is predicting that everyone's choosing the same classes. Well, we've already got one person, Ruby, who is already a multi-class, so that's 2 classes to choose from. And then, well, we'll explore what other people have chosen as well, because I think that Bane might be surprised. Okay, so you spend your time sort of in physical meditation. You're trying to become mindless,
Yes.
zen. You're not thinking about the outside at all. You're thinking about the inside. I would
Yes.
say then, give me a perception check with disadvantage. Okay, even with disadvantage, you get a 12. Nobody is stood about 30 feet away from you, just contemplatively watching you.
Nobody is.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're just watching. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe if Ruby comes to a natural conclusion.
They're not trying to hide or anything.
maybe
They're just sat there.
No. Yeah. Maybe if Ruby's come to a natural conclusion, like has done 1,000 of something.
Yeah.
And is taking a pause, just sort of looks over to nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And then just goes. Yes. Just asks. You alright, nobody? Everything okay?
I can't help but think what I did. Do you mind if I talk to you about something?
Fire away.
I feel responsible. I feel like what happened 2 days ago? I feel like that was all my fault. And I'm supposed to worship nothing. And well, when nothing shows up on my door, I'm expecting that they gonna be happy about me. And instead, now my soul is forfeit and I'm gonna be tortured for all eternity. I ain't much pleased about that. I feel like I brought all this on each of you. You sure
I can
do look like
understand.
you hate that rock, for a start. And I can't help but wonder if you're imagining in my head where the rock is.
Ruby smiles a little bit at that comment and definitely not imagining your head, nobody. And I'm at least can speak from my perspective that there's no blame or feeling that you are responsible.
She gets an
Especially
insight
not
roll of 18
alone.
against whatever you are. Are you
Okay.
actively trying to persuade or deceive in any way?
Deceive is the wrong phrase because Ruby does not blame nobody. Ruby blames herself because she triggered it.
Right. So you are telling the
So,
truth, but you're omitting certain details. And I think you see that sort of warmth in her posture, and she sort of, her shoulders untense a little bit. I won't say relax fully because they're not, but she certainly looks like she is listening to what you're saying at the very least.
Ruby would ask nobody a question as well after that and just say, so you say you feel responsible for it all and that you've brought it on each of us, but what do you mean by responsible for it all?
I was the one who said that there was something foul in the air. I brought us here. If we hadn't have met, you would not have come here. We would not have killed that poor, I suppose, demigod. It is not my place to bring death upon those who it is not their time. And I feel so wretched awful about what was befallen that man. And now his brother, too, has to carry his soul to the underworld. That does not seem like a peaceful end in my mind. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm not going to disagree that the end was not peaceful, but to blame an encounter on that and solely blame yourself for an encounter of us at Diodari, a place where I had brought my friends. We would not have been at the dairy if it was not for my choice. So to blame yourself for mentioning why you were heading here is not, I guess, recognizing all of the coincidences or choices that led to that moment.
It
We could
leaves
go
me
back
with
and blame Crimson or Berg for taking me to the dairy. Otherwise, I never would have brought my friends there years later. All these decisions line up, and they're not made by one person. Certainly not.
Do you ever think that perhaps destiny is all just hogwash and is simply just fate? That we were all put on this line together and we cannot change our destination? Because if so, then what am I really worshipping here?
I don't believe in, I guess, maybe how I've lived. I can't believe in fate or destiny. Was it my fate to end up on a ship surrounded by my friends in cages? Was I destined to be the one, the only one, taken out of there, leaving my friends behind? If that's destiny, I want no part in it. It is full of bad. Everything I have experienced or things that have happened are choices made, good or bad choices. I know I've not made good choices. I know that. Maybe this is not nice to say to someone who believes in a fate or destiny. There's still place for worship. And even if a bad decision is made, it's how you then choose to better from that, learn from it. We can't change the past. It's up to us whether we jump straight into it, blind, or we learn from it.
You can see that her eyes are sort of glazing over like she's about to shed a tear, but she lifts up this sort of long blue sash ribbon that you've seen her carrying from time to time, and she dabs at her eyes instead. She then sort of looks down at it contemplatively. You know, this should mean nothing to me. It really should. This is just a piece of cloth that I still have from my home. It's, I guess it was tied to my crib when I was a baby, but I always kept it. It was just a reminder of the Benny that came before the nobody. But I've been so wrapped up in ego and what I'm thinking of myself that I forget that my whole worship is about nothing and nobody. And really, this is holding me back. I would be very honored if you would take this as a... I don't know what you'd use it for. Maybe a sash or a mark on your wraps. Don't know what you call them. Maybe weave it into something new, like a new robe. Whatever you want to use it for, I would be very honored if you would take it from me, please. You would be doing me a kindness.
Is this truly what you want, nobody? I'll happily and very gratefully take this, and I'll honor the Benny who came before the nobody.
You honor Benny just by being a friend to nobody. Thank you. And she passes you the blue silk.
Ruby takes it and kind of clasps her hand around Benny's in almost not a handshake, it's like a handhold
Yeah.
of like friendship.
You can feel the warmth in her tiefling hands. Like that radiance of something just deep down within. And as she puts a hand over your arm as well, and, secures the grasp, she pulls you in for a short hug, and then walks back inside the house. And I guess you continue on with your training and meditation.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would. I'd put the wrap safe somewhere.
Yeah.
And then continue punching a boulder.
Nice. While we talk about the next thing, I will just add into your inventory blue silk.
Thank you.
Might I ask the next person, Isabel, what are you spending your week doing?
Oh, if it was just an evening, I'd be just saying reading. But I can't do that for too long.
Mm-hmm.
So, in light of what's happened, I'm just going to go out and just sit amongst the trees and contemplate what happened.
Okie dokie.
And just
Then
try and...
we find ourselves in a forest. This is an area nearby to Kashala. You've sort of walked off the beaten path. You've gone sort of northeast-ish, maybe a little bit more north. It's sort of on the lower slopes of the mountain, but it's still part of the mountain, so it's still sort of rocky. But all of the rocks here are still covered in snow, with a few tracks just headed through it. And I think that those tracks catch your eye as you walk among the trees here.
Do I recognize what they are?
Give me a nature check.
Why do I have to have a minus on that one?
Or give me it with advantage.
Okay, another one, and there we go.
Hey, good job you had the advantage. Good job I said it when you were rolling it. With a 19 and not a 4, yes, you see that this is a wolf track.
I follow them.
Okay. You find that they go north from where you are. And that there's a few of them. You count, it's 3 or 4, maybe 5.
I'll be as quiet as possible as I follow them, but try not to stray too far from my friends.
Okay. I'd say that you're probably about, 400 feet away from where the house is. It's not like this township isn't exactly a big industrial place, so they haven't cleared their boundary of trees and stuff. They're much more natural folk than that. They're very easygoing as far as nature is concerned. And so it wouldn't make sense for them to have cleared this forest. But as you head north, you can certainly hear a very quiet rustling in the trees up ahead. Please give me a stealth roll. You approach and are... Let me just see. You are You hear the sort of rustle of trees and the drop of snow of some of their branches. You hear the crunch of snow underneath your feet as you slowly approach, being very careful. And there is a crack of a twig, but it's not under your foot. It's to your right, where you see that there is a winter wolf that has heard your approach and has come over to investigate.
I respectfully lower my head while keeping eye contact and step. I'm not sure. I'll just try to put my hands up, saying I mean no harm.
Okay. Can I ask what place do you go to when you're trying to find this calm? It's difficult for a barbarian who knows rage to find a place of tranquility and placitude.
I would say the forest in general would be, because I grew up in a city or so, didn't I? So
Yeah, you grew up in Ironfront. Big industrial place, surrounded by metal and not really much else.
yeah, I go to the forest to try to deal with the peace that's outside the city walls when I need calm.
I think that in time you have been to the forests of, the Green Waste and elsewhere, where you have been with your the Howlers. You've been out with them on some of their patrols and some of their like safety watches, as they've tried to scavenge and find supplies for the group. So you would have had some connection to the forest before, but not quite as deeply as you're finding here, as you're out here on your own with a wolf. However, seeing this wolf probably reminds you a lot of home. That you found a family outside of your own, among the sort of nomadic tribe from their own country and their own needs and places, from Corelva. But you've also now found a new family in the party that you are with, and you're sort of starting to make this connection between family and people and the Howlers and nature itself. That really, every part of this is all one big elemental flow. And when you are dust, you'll become the food for the flowers that'll grow, that'll feed the animals that the wolves will feed on themselves, and so on it goes. As you start to feel this sort of contemplation, the wolf pads ever so slightly closer to you.
I don't panic. I keep still trying to be as unarmed as possible, and you know what I mean.
As you stay as calm as you can, and you try and make as unthreatening a sort of, what's the word, a shape, figure, silhouette as you can, the wolf, you notice a few things. Give me a perception check, and I'll say exactly how well you notice them.
Oh dear.
Well, its tail is still, its hair is not raised, and its ears are not back. It regards you. You see it sniff the air. It looks like it might have come downwind of you, where it's stood, so that it can get a better smell of you. And it doesn't seem like it's troubled. Give me animal handling, and I'll give you advantage. It sits down and then lies down and then raises its head up and just sort of looks around it. It looks like it's not regarding you as a threat at all, in the nicest of ways.
Can I outstretch my hand slowly and try and give it a pet on the head?
It's probably about, what, 80 feet away from you at the moment?
Okay, I slowly approach it and do that.
Okay.
as slowly as I can.
So as you, I don't know if are you guys seeing this map that I've made here? You are here, aren't you?
I
You
am.
should be. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
All right. Cool.
Yeah,
So
we're good.
yeah, you can move your token if you want. Just show me how far you would want to go.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Just imagine it's a bit more slowly. I can't really do that slow on this.
Yeah. So you're doing this over like a few minutes, just very slow approach, calm,
Down
soft.
below as well, so I'm not too tall.
Yeah, arms down at your sides, trying to make as small of a shape as possible so that it doesn't think of you as being dangerous. As you approach, it stands up and sort of narrows its eyes slightly, but then lowers itself back onto its back feet and sits down again. This time it's sort of sat upright. You can see that this thing is big. This thing is like the size of a person or bigger. Like if stretched out, this would be, like 8 feet, 10 feet. But as you are at the moment, it's sort of trying to keep as small a portion size as you can see. And you reach out to pet it.
Yes.
It doesn't move from your touch. It doesn't like recoil or try and snap or salivate or anything like that. And as of yet, it's not howled either. It's just placidly sitting, allowing you to touch it.
Would I be too low if I went on my knees and continued petting it?
No, I think that you would be able to stay at basically eye height with it.
Okay, I go on my knees so to relax myself a little bit as well.
It looks around. There's a little yip from the trees north of it. It turns its ears towards that, and then its head follows shortly after. It looks back at you, looks you deep into your eyes. You see this cool blue-grey of its irises as it just seems to look like it's staring straight into you. And after what feels like an age, it then turns and licks your hand once, and then turns and walks off north. Seems like it might be heading back to its family.
Well, Isabel is while she's scared of the whole my soul is belongs to another, she's also glad that when her death comes, her body will still be of use to the life cycle.
And
comfort in that.
may I ask what you took your next level in?
I took my next level on Druid.
Druid. We love that. And Strawberry is fucking raiding like a PogChamp at the end of that beautiful, beautiful sequence. The wolf walks off towards its family as Strawberry walks into the group, welcoming Strawberry. So you head back towards the camp, I assume?
Of course, yeah.
Lovely. So we'll go back there then. And you are now a level 5 barbarian, level 1 druid. Which is very sick. We absolutely love that.
It took all my concentration not to say, can we keep him?
Can we keep the wolf? Jesus Christ. Welcome in, Strawberry. You've just caught us right at the end of a lovely sequence where we explained how Isabel has taken a level in druid. How are you doing? How was stream? What did you play? So we know that Victor is not going to be here for this session, so Victor would leave. I've already asked Steve what Victor is looking for. Essentially, he told me that Victor would be trying to investigate why it is that they can see the dead, and they can see these beings, and they can see Valkyries and stuff. And also why it feels like they're being particularly targeted as part of this, and like the wider investigation as well about people, prominent figures dying. So that is something that Victor goes off and investigates. And as Victor is taking a level in Rogue, So Victor is now a full level 6 rogue. Victor is essentially just using this time to do that, to do exactly that. That Victor wants to go off and stealth around and investigate around and talk to people and ask people stuff. And that is how Victor is going to level up as a rogue, in investigating and in hiding and sneaking and, talking to people. So it seems like it's a hefty thing that Victor is doing. And of course, he comes back at the end of every day as he needs somewhere to sleep that's safe and well. But we'll see what happens on the second half of the week. Now we'll speak now to Briar. Briar, what do you think that your first few days of this week of downtime would be spent doing?
So
Oh, I'm sorry
I
that
would
you
say
feel
like
sick,
the
Strawberry.
very
Me too.
first
I'm just getting off
day, I
COVID.
would spend the entire day looking at local plant life, seeing if there's anything that is new to me that maybe could be used for beneficial, like potions, medicines,
Yeah.
anything that I could just put in my bag and kind of look at later.
I would say give me either. Well, you could do two things. So give me a nature check and give me an insight check. The insight check you can do with advantage. Nature 14
Insight with advantage.
and insight 14. So you know vagaries about what might be in the area. It's not really your typical place to have gone, because you didn't really go on that many, cleric missions out and about outside of Ironfront with your family. That was more what your parents sort of did because they were prominent in that kind of field. So finding these things is going to be difficult, or it will take a bit of experimentation for you to figure out exactly what they are and where to find them and how they're used. But I think that another part of you will also tell you that Ash is a druid who lived in a forest, and Aldrin is a sorcerer who lived in a swamp. And the two of them together both have a fascination of nature and wild things and where to find them. Especially Aldrin, who has the poisoner's kit, the alchemist's kit to take and store things safely that might be poisonous. So it might be beneficial to you to talk to either Ash or Aldrin.
Okay, great. I would maybe talk to Aldrin because they said that they were going to go off and wander in the forest as well a little bit. So I would maybe just ask like if they wanted to go together, at least just at the start.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Sure.
and then, while we're walking around, I'll ask them if I have any questions or something about like the local plant life. If I don't recognize something, I'll kind of
That's
be like,
amazing,
"Hey,
Strawberry.
is this poisonous?"
Lucia characters. I love
Sounds
that.
like a plan.
That's brilliant. That's really good. Is there anything in particular that you are looking for? Like, are you looking for anything to make a filter of health with, or is it a poison
Yeah.
draft that you're looking for? What kind of things are we looking for here to make with? Sorry, it's
I would be
Lucia,
looking
isn't it? It's
for,
like Lucia.
like
Lucia.
something that I could do health potion or possibly like use as like fantasy band-aids.
Yeah. Cool. Well, you're just update us on what you're taking your extra level in.
Cleric.
Love that. So you're taking your level in cleric,
Yep, just
and
straight cleric.
so not having any kind of artificer background, it's not going to be so easy for you to make a potion from these things. But you start to find the components and the elements of what you would need to sort of put together. And I think over the first few days, you're just starting to get to grips of this kind of frosty area and what might constitute useful for a potion. I don't know whether you would immediately know exactly which parts are going to make a health potion and how you would be able to put that together to make the health potion, but you get the beginnings of that knowledge, and it feels like if you spend some time focusing on this over time, that you might actually be able to make yourself a potion or two in in the long term. But for now, at least, this focus on nature, at least, does that feel like it's any kind of clerical, connection for you, being that you worship the goddess of nature, which I think is Ear?
I think it would come sort of like not naturally, but my family has kind of had like that focus in natural medicine and working in a laboratory and stuff, and
Yeah,
helping out the people in the factories and stuff. It might have like remnants of a teaching, in the classroom or something being taught by my family.
mm.
And those little bits and pieces of knowledge would kind of like seep through and start to like make sense, maybe.
Yeah, like the difference between reading in a textbook and doing it for real. Like you
Exactly.
start to
Yeah.
actually understand exactly what it means and like how to
Yeah.
apply it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fully sympathize with that. Like as a complete aside, IRL, I've been learning how to code in HTML and CSS in the last week while I've had COVID, and my God, just putting it into practice has made me understand it so much better than just reading that shit. Jesus Christ, was I ready to pull my own heart out. Um,
Yeah, exactly. Like some experimental learning
Yes,
or
exactly. You've got
experiential
to
learning.
you've got to do like trial and error to really fully appreciate so many elements of this, and you have done this, with great leaps and bounds. So, as you are sort of experimenting and finding these things and collecting them, you start to amass a small collection. What might you be holding these in?
I would say just like my little bag that I carry.
Cool. Just sort of carefully put together, but yeah, you've got like a bunch of different materials and berries and stuff to go in amongst all of the cheese that I'm assuming that you guys are still carrying around. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so lots of berry accompaniments to go with some cheese, maybe some charcuterie you can have on the evenings. Uh, try and eat some of these berries and see just how foul or
Fantasy
delectable they
Lunchables.
might taste. Yeah, like a
Fancy
Lunchables, like a
lunchables.
fantasy Lunchables. So yeah, you start putting this together, and you start to feel your connection to nature deepening, and even if it's not necessarily in worship, you feel as if you are making a deeper connection as a cleric, and I think that nobody probably picks up on that and sort of starts giving you like a knowing smile as she sees that you have a different sort of step to you as you are coming back from the woods each day. Um, and yeah, you sort of see her at the end of this conversation that she seems to have just had with Ruby on the second day. And as she's walking inside, she sees you coming back from the forest and sort of gives you one of those like upward nods, just to say, "Hey, how's it going?"
Hey, nobody. Wondering if we could have that chat
Of
now.
of course, I'm all ears. What would you like to talk to me about?
Well, you had mentioned, you know, worshiping nothing,
Of course.
and um, you said that maybe you thought I could benefit from learning about what your clerical focus is on, and um, I'm not saying that I'm ready to drop my goddess ear, but I am interested in learning more. It's my curious nature, and I was wondering if you'd be able to or be willing to share.
Of course. Where can I start? What would you like to know?
Well, I guess my first question is, um, it seems like you're focused a little bit like necromantic,
Well, yes.
and does that come at a cost to you?
Well, no. Why would it ever come at a cost? No. I I am a I'm just a simple person. And I lost in my life and I tried to find reason for why, and I found that there were ways and means about helping people who were in those positions, and I figured I could, sure, I could learn how to counsel those who have lost and are grieving, and I thought perhaps that I could stay just in that part of things. But then there was this older person who used to turn up, and she was such a shining light. She used to talk to people all the time about their loved ones lost, but she was so much more than that. She actually spoke to those people who had passed and could give real answers. She wasn't just a charlatan. She actually was using it for a good cause. But after a while, I started to see some of the things that unfortunately come with the downsides to that, and that's sometimes people get a little fixated when they know that they can talk to a person. And it's sort of like the moment that you talk to someone for the first time, there's a good chance that they might be your friend. And well, if you keep that line open with them, then they most certainly are going to become that, and you will talk to them a lot. Well, if you've become a life partner, or if you lost your father or something like that, well, it becomes a little more difficult to say goodbye when you know that you can just talk to them whenever you like. So people would not grieve and move on in their lives. And I found that there was a more simple way of dealing with this, and that is to bring the person back. Well, honestly, I don't often do it, and I'm not sure that it's the right answer a lot of the time, but in some of those precious few moments where it would certainly help things, I do my best to bring a person back from nothing. And I would not be able to do that if I had not learned first, which is why I worship nothing. There's a great balance in nothing. You understand? There's
Yeah.
there's life and there's death, but people forget what comes before life in the first place. What, do you think that your soul just appears out of nothing? Well, I'm sure it does, but people seem to find a hard time understanding that. And when things end, where do you think your soul goes? Well, there is eternity, of course, but as I have found in my readings and my teachings on this matter, where I study, or have studied, there ain't just one afterlife. There's all kinds of gods and deities and people who call themselves death walking around. Just so happens we just met one of them just a few days ago. You see, she gets like chills, like goosebumps, goose pimples for those Americans. Um, and she sort of, you see her like right arm clasp her left arm as she starts to rub her forearm and get her skin to go back to normal. Um, and she continues, well, if there's so many people walking around saying that they are the final harbinger of souls, then that must mean that there's not just one final resting place. And maybe someone goes to the wrong one. Maybe they weren't given the chance that they should have had to reconcile their problems. Some people are only evil because of circumstance. because they got put into a situation at a young age that they did not understand, and it was foolish of the people around them to treat those children the way that they did. And now they've become wretched, awful people in the world, and the only way that they can be redeemed, in my mind, is not to punish them for eternity, but to bring them back and give them a chance at redemption. Now that they have tasted hell, let us see what they can do with their lives with that knowledge, and maybe they can repair some of the ill that they have done. So,
That's really quite beautiful.
in many ways, there's a balance in all things. Sometimes it's returning somebody who it was not their time, and sometimes it's bringing someone back so that they can have that time again to do better. But there's always a reason for why someone dies, and sometimes it just needs to end. And in that, you can give the people that are left behind the peace that they need. I hope that that has answered some of your questions. I'll be around. I'll be here for the next few days if you have any more.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing your knowledge with me, and I do have one more question,
Oh, far
if you
away.
don't mind. Um, Now you like to refer to yourself as nobody.
Of course.
Was that a personal choice, or did you have to give up your personal identity to worship nothing?
For me, look, all things die, even gods. The only true power is death. And what is death but a nothing at the end of a something? Death is nothing. And nothing isn't better or worse than anything. Nothing is just nothing. I'm just a vessel of that nothing. If I am worshipping nothing and I am making it my all, it is only right and good that I take all of that and become it. If I'm putting all of myself into a thing and that thing just happens to be nothing, then what is left but nobody? Does that make sense?
I guess so.
It's not really a thing that we force people into. It's never a thing of force, but then you can also choose to not worship nothing. Nobody ever said that that was mandatory.
I struggle with the thought of giving up my identity, who I am, my name. It's just, it's interesting to think about because what is really tied to that? But yet we find it is who we are.
There are just about as many creatures or beings that have worshipped life as there are that have worshipped death. And unfortunately, some people take me for being evil because I am a self professed necromancer. Well, the thing of that is, any kind of healing is necromancy when you think about it. Necromancy is keeping something from the grave. And if you go and heal someone by touching them or saying magic words in their direction, you are holding them from that grave. That is necromancy. I'll go technical and talk about wizards and wizards colleges and the the colleges and schools of each magic spell. And yes, there are revival spells that do not bring a person back into a corpse or a zombie or a skeleton. Of course, there are those who are able to cast true resurrection for a start, and that would bring a person back fully and completely. But those are necromancy. And some people just find it hard to understand where one thing ends and another begins, and find it hard to draw that line. Well, my dear, if you want to worship whatever it is that you want to worship, You don't have to put your all into it. You don't have to put your name into it. You can make it your own. You don't even have to worship a god. You can worship an ideal. You can worship the idea of, I don't know, balance. Don't need to be no more than that.
I like the idea of balance.
I hope that that has helped you in some ways.
Yeah, you've given me a lot to think about. I think I'm gonna go contemplate.
Well, thank you for
Thank you.
talking to me.
Thank you for sharing more
She
information.
she's got a little notebook that she's been sat by at the table a few days, and she sits back down at it and continues writing. Just picks up her quill and ink that she leaves laid out on the table. And you go on your way, and as it is for the rest of these first few days. Now, last but not least, Ash, what is it that you are spending your first few days of this week of downtime doing?
I think I'm gonna talk a lot with nobody.
Okay. Just straight from, like, the first day, or, like, anything else
Well,
before that?
Since we talked her out of the water,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure she's okay.
Oh, for sure. Okay,
Like,
so,
she
yeah,
couldn't
you...
help herself, so,
Briar is
you know,
going
I'm gonna-
around doing, the foresty tasks, and Briar hasn't really spoken to them yet, nor has Ruby, because this is the very beginning. So we're going back in time a little bit for everybody else. So, yeah, she's sort of sat at her table. What do you want to say?
I just want to be like, hey, nobody, are you okay? Like, I know a lot happened, and I'm glad that we were able to bring you back, but I'm just worried about you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Ash. You are fast becoming a good friend. You understand that?
You know, I can say the same. I was wary at first because, you know, who you follow and everything, but you're a really good person.
You know, there's so many in this world who think that they are the default, that they are human or elf, and that somehow that makes them better than others. And I am a tiefling, and I started out as an elf, but my horns and tail came in when I reached adolescence. Well, you were born different. I was made different. Neither of us had much choice in it. And both of us have had it in such different ways, and we are so different from each other. But in that, we are the same. And we are so different from everybody else that we might as well be the same person. And for what you did, I am eternally grateful. I am only nobody now because you stopped me from becoming nothing, and I am very grateful for that.
Well, I know that there's got to be another way that we can fix this. I just don't know how.
I'm not sure. There are ways about bringing a person back, but a demigod I am not sure on.
Well, I mean, we've met a lot of people. We might be able to talk to Merlin to see if we can't fix that.
I understand.
Well, not Merlin, but a version of It's a long story.
It does not surprise me that you have had a complicated time of this. I would say this is not anything new. The fact that you have a version of Merlin at your fingertips, I am not shocked.
Oh, does he do that a lot, I'm assuming?
Well, I've never met the man. I don't know anybody in the last 100 years who has. But that's by the by. the fact that not only have you met him, but you've met a version of him, as if there are more than one, this in itself is pretty kooky. But then we did just talk to Death, and we killed the Sandman, and we even saw the Valkyries. So I'm kind of on the side of what else might as well happen, might as well happen.
I think that there's a way around this. I just don't know what.
Well, as I say, there are ways and means of bringing people back. You just gotta know which place to go to. Give me an insight check.
All right.
I'll say you can do it with advantage because you've been getting to know her better since you helped her out of the water. With a 17, you can tell that she's not talking about any normal place, but you'd need to ask more questions to find out exactly what she's hitting at.
Well, you said there's places like a place like Kashalapur, like it called you here, places like that.
No, no. She puts a very soft hand on your forearm to be like, no, dear. I apologize. Maybe I was not clear enough. There are many places that people's souls go to in the aftertime, where people pass on to the next place. Well, the next place is not a definite article. The next place is many multitudes of places. And for all of the gods that have been, and all of the gods that will be, they will have their own decision on where their worshippers and followers will go. And, well, for a creature as old as Olakoi, I would say that perhaps he might not go somewhere that we are expecting him to. He might be going somewhere old and cold and dark, not some of these newfangled afterlives like Valhalla. She sort of rolls her eyes slightly at that.
Can I do a religion check to see if maybe I can discern what type of place?
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, my cat is hawking up something, so if you hear that, I apologize.
With a 15, you can tell that an old being would have to go to an old afterlife.
Okay.
You see, sometimes it's not as simple as cast the magic words and bring the creature back. You have to speak to the creature sometimes so that you can get them to agree. For a being as old as Olakoi, who has been doing their job for as old as time, I imagine, then maybe he's ready to rest. Maybe we need to convince him that it's not his time. He might have a different idea of it. Because I can't guarantee that the spell will work. And even if it did, there's no guarantee he would stay alive. He might just go ahead and take himself back to whatever majesty was there. So, we gotta find whatever heaven or hell he went to, and then persuade him to come back. And it's not as easy as simply walking up to the front door and knocking, if you catch my drift.
I mean, any deed worth doing is worth doing right. Right?
I counter that point. Any deed worth doing is worth doing poorly.
Why poorly?
If you have no energy and you wake up in the morning and you only just manage to wipe yourself down and not get a full clean, then that is worth doing. You've done it poorly, but you've done it anyway because it was worth doing. Any deed worth doing is worth doing poorly. Whatever way we get there, I think it's important that we do. Or
I
maybe
didn't mean the arriving part. I meant the convincing part.
I get that, but I think it applies to all factors in this. I worship nothing, don't mean I've got a hardline connection to talking to it. I honestly have not met a person who did. Well, until. And she goes quiet.
I put a hand on her shoulder to try to reassure her, because that's what people do, I think. That's what I've seen.
Thank you. I would need to go and talk to somebody about how we would go about finding this place. But from what he said, the fella on the horse, I would say that you guys need to be a little bit careful about how you go about your adventures from here on. Because if he was telling the truth about what he intends to do with your souls, I don't imagine it's going to be all cheese and umbrellas, if you catch my drift.
And we do like our cheese.
You do like your cheese. I've been meaning to talk to you. You know that there's a plant called mint? It's very good to chew on, especially when you've been having a lot of dairy. All of you have so much dairy, and all I ever smell is milky breath. I would really adore it if you could find some mint and maybe start thinking about that a little bit more. Maybe you go and do that on one of these days that we're taking a break.
I will take that under advisement and go do so.
Well, I mean, you can go and take a look outside on the slopes if you want.
Yeah, let me go look for some mint so
All
my
right.
breath isn't so atrocious.
Give me a nature check, please.
Hey, that's one of the things I'm not really the best at.
Oh dear.
You'd think I'd be better.
A 21. You got a dirty 21. Well, with a dirty 21, you do find some wild mint out here. You also find that in the time that you've been talking, that in fact, the day has turned to night on this first few of the days, and you find yourself in twilight time. What do you think that you would be doing as you walk out onto the slopes of this snow-encrusted landscape with some mint and the glow of the stars above you?
Well, first of all, I would try not to run into anything because I can't see.
Good, yeah.
Because I don't have dark vision.
Mm-hmm.
So I would. Hold on, let me see. Since I can control flames, I'm gonna see if I can't start like a kindling with my
Cool.
my kit that I have. See if, because I lived in nature all my life, just start like a small fire on.
I think that you would be pretty proficient at that, to be honest. I won't even make you roll for it. I think that you'd easily be able to start a fire. You've probably been doing it your whole life.
Yeah, so I would make sure that I had like a torch or something so I could see.
Cool.
And I would try to make my way back to town.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back over to our lovely snowy forest. And we are here, essentially. This is where you have found yourself. You are out in the trees here. And you are, for all intents and purposes, in the dark. There is tree canopy over you, and there are stars above, and the moon as well. But that is all of the light that you're getting, and it's compared to your torch, it's not, it feels like you are being suffocated by this darkness.
I guess I would just try to will myself to find my path forward. I know the light's probably not the best with the torch that I have too. It's kind of blinding me too.
Yeah, I think that that's probably the biggest thing that you're finding at this point is that the light is blinding you more than it's helping. because you're having to hold it out ahead of you so that you don't, burn yourself or anything around you. But in doing so, it's sort of creating this big halo of light right in your vision that you can't really see past. So, the ground is being lit up for everything around you, but really all you're being is just a beacon for all of those creatures that you might not be seeing in the darkness.
Yeah, let me snuff this out in the snow then.
Cool. As you drop it to the ground, you hear the hiss of it hitting the snow, and after a moment or two, the dwindling embers settle down to nothing, and you sort of try to recenter yourself, I guess. Close your eyes, do whatever it is that you do to try and get your eyes adjusted to the darkness again. Is there any kind
Okay.
of moment from your past that you would draw on for this? Like any time in a dark forest where you didn't have your torch as a youth, where you had to rely on your senses?
Yeah, probably like whenever I first decided to become a hermit, like
Mm-hmm.
when I ran away from home essentially and started to make my own camp in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
I wandered off and went to go grab some kindling for the fire, and then dusk came a little faster than I realized.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go back to that moment and kind of like close my eyes, put my hand over my rune
Mm-hmm.
in my outfit, and just kind of center my breathing, kind of go into almost like a meditative state.
Mm-hmm.
And then just once I felt that I was a little bit more centered, I would then open my eyes again.
I think that as you start to center yourself, you feel yourself connected to something other than what you are already. Being a druid, you're connected to nature and you draw your power from nature using your, druidic focus and all of that. But there is still inherently a power coming from that. Whatever word you want to give it, whether it's Gaia, whether it's Mother Earth, whether it's just the circle of life, whatever that is, that's got a flow of energy. And, druids harness that flow to their benefit and to the benefit of those around them. And as you are in this forest with the stars around you, you probably feel that power welling up inside of you. This druidic focus that you have in your, mechanically your subclass, but as a person, it's part of who you are. You are part of the circle of stars, and you're underneath the stars right now. And I think that as you reach out, you feel a connection tethering you to some other aspect of the night, and some other aspect of, we used this word earlier, balance. That maybe there isn't such a bad thing about being at nighttime. Nighttime is just the sun going around the world and coming back again, or vice versa. And in each of these moments, there is always some feeling of emptiness and aloneness, but you've never felt that because you wouldn't worship the stars if not. So, as you're in this moment, what comes over you? And once you explain that, could you maybe tell us what you've taken a level in?
I feel like I would just take solace in the night, in the stars, in the moon,
Mm-hmm.
and never having been too astray from them. Like
Mm-hmm.
they've always been there. Even the moon's there during the day. Like
Yeah.
it's always there. So I think that I would feel kind of homeness to that. I would feel comforted,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't necessarily be very anxious. I would just be more relieved. And then I would open my eyes.
As you
And
open your eyes, what is the level that you've taken?
I've taken a level in cleric.
You are a Twilight Circle cleric.
Yes.
So not only are you a druid of the stars, but you are a cleric of Twilight. A perfect combination. And as you open your eyes, you can feel that this new connection has aided you in many ways. That maybe it's a part of the druid side. Maybe you feel like your eyes have shifted into those of a wild creature. Maybe it's just the simple fact that you're starting to pick up on the energies of the world around you, and you see those, and it's no element of transformation for you, but more a recognition and appreciation of that nature around you and all of its power, and you start to see all of that. But as you open your eyes, you realize that now you have dark vision, and that dark vision extends to 300 feet. That you've got an incredible command of the darkness around you, and that maybe even in a time of need, you might be able to bestow that dark vision on those around you as well. And you are now a multi-class druid cleric.
That I
And
am.
you, as you walk around, you find it very easy to find some wild mint on the slopes.
Awesome.
And we return back to daytime, back to the house that you've all been staying in. And it turns to the fourth or fifth day. This is where Victor goes off on a longer expedition to try and find out a little bit more about what's been going on. We'll find out exactly what Steve wants Victor to have been investigating next week. So we'll leave that. But yeah, you essentially you all find yourselves together without Victor, but you are all together in this house. Is there anything in particular that you would be doing now that you are together? Any conversations that you would be having as a group, or planning, or discussing the fallout of what has just happened? Go right ahead. While you do that, I'm going to go and quickly grab a drink. I'll be right back.
I feel like I would go up to Briar.
Okay.
And I would just start talking with you about, cleric-y stuff. Because I don't know anything about it.
Well, welcome to the Twilight Cleric Club. We meet on Thursdays.
Hey, what do you know? It is a Thursday.
What would you like to know?
Just what, do I need to meditate more? Do I need a book of my own? Do I need a giant axe like yours? Like, I'm not sure.
Well, I worship the goddess Ear, who is mostly nature focused. And I pray to her and I get my strength from her and my insight sort of as well. But as you know, nobody is also a cleric. But she focuses on like necromantic kind of clericness, and I've been talking to her about that a lot. And it's pretty interesting. Where she gets, where they, I don't know her pronoun or their pronouns.
She refers to herself in the she/her.
Okay. And she's been teaching me a whole lot about that. So Briar right now is kind of like contemplating all that she's learned from nobody. But yeah, I mean, I have a little bit of like a hammer, kind of like almost like Thor's hammer. uh,
Can I do a religion check to see if I know who Thor would be?
Yeah.
that was a little bit of above table, I guess.
But no, you can still do a religion check if you want. 13. I was looking at the one above it, the 21. With a 13, you figured that the person who would know more about this would probably be Isabel. You think that
Okay.
Isabel knowing, like reading up on these kind of things, is most likely going to be an Isabel thing, since Isabel likes to read anyway.
So basically, Isabel just has my rapt attention, and like, I
Yeah,
have no
I
idea
mean,
who Thor is.
well-
I'm just like,
Isabel is here amongst all of you. You are all here in the house together. It's just that it's only you and Briar that are talking at the moment. Everyone can join in if you want.
You want to know about Ford, yeah?
yeah, who is that?
Do you want me
Yeah,
to? Do you want me to speak through Isabel's voice?
I mean, you could try.
ahead, sound like Isabel, let's go.
Oh
Roll-
my
roll
god,
to
I'm gonna
see how
sound
well
like
you can
Isabel as well. Oh, okay.
Roll,
Yeah.
roll
This
to performance.
I'm not giving my Isabel performance. That I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready. My voice is still sore from coughing my guts up the last week, so I'm just gonna use my voice. But Isabel tells you that Thor is one of the sons of Odin. That Thor is the god of thunder. That all reports of what he looks like is a very red-haired, wild-looking person. Wears sort of hides and skins. Carries a hammer. Wears a belt. And hasn't really been seen for a long time by the mortals of the world.
Oh, okay.
You retold that really well, Isabel.
Yes, yeah. Just imagine that was me.
Yeah. Well,
Isabel,
that was
you
you. What are you talking
sounded-
about? That was exactly like what you sound like.
Pardon me, my voice was a bit hoarse there.
Yeah. Definitely needed that drink. I mean, you needed that drink. Okay. So yeah, you continue this conversation about clerics and worship. Then I assume.
Yeah, I don't really know much about religion per se, so I'm just trying to get an idea from everybody who has deities. Because while I'm friends with somebody, I never said that they were my deity.
I think Ruby,
I mean,
your ears would perk up there, Ruby, and you would understand what Ash means by friends with somebody. And I think Isabel too, after your whole run-in with the cardinal.
not in my book,
Ruby.
but yeah.
Ruby would not really say anything. She's kind of taken a vow of silence at the moment.
I just flick my eyes toward Ash once and then go back to what I was doing.
Aldrin's just a little bit confused about all the clericy stuff.
Yeah, so am I, to be
They
fair.
just don't comprehend it. It's not what
I'm
they've
not.
learned, but they're
I'm not a
listening
cleric.
and absorbing.
I'm curious what Aldrin does worship, if anything.
Uh, well, they probably wouldn't have had much of a religion necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
It's more so just they follow facts and things happen. Um, like, frogs turn into frogs from tadpoles. Like, you watch it happen. It happens.
Evolution.
Why? Well, who knows?
I think.
But like being an outlier, they were on their community. They weren't brought into much of things.
Yeah.
They were given sort of a general education enough to get by, you know.
Yeah.
But and sort of were there,
Yeah.
but weren't really included. So if the village had religious practices, they didn't really go. They may have seen them from the outside, but probably weren't interested because they were off chasing a frog.
Yeah. Well, I think that with your sort of view of the world as being a tangible thing that you can see, this process and metamorphosis of child to adult to frog, that and in many fairy tales, of course, it went the opposite way. Went fucking frog to adult. I would think that you've probably got not only more of a tangible view on the gods, but you've probably also got a view of like how gods can be outsiders themselves, and that sort of resonates with you in some ways because
Yeah.
gods aren't all about religion, you know? Like, a lot of people in this world just acknowledge the existence of gods but don't pray to them. And in many ways, they are just other people that walk around and live a long time. Like, you know, there are gods who, uh, as I think Isabel would probably be aware, um, the Norse pantheon of gods, the you know, Odin and Thor and Loki and all of those, they don't live forever. They live for a very long time, but their life is prolonged by the ambrosia that they drink. And that essentially is just, you know, oh, so you're a powerful person on what, life juice? Steroids? What is that? So I think for you, you'll probably recognize that all these people worshipping these powerful beings, that they might as well just worship the wizard down the street because, you know, they are probably just as
Exactly.
powerful and they don't necessarily require worship. They're just a powerful person.
Yeah. A
So,
good
yeah.
example would be that Aldrin for sure now believes that the Valkyries exist because
Yeah, for
Aldrin's
sure.
met them.
Hmm.
So they would be more inclined to believe that Valhalla exists as a place than, let's say, an abstracted idea of heaven or hell from a book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's okay, you wrote about it, and it might be out there, sure, but I don't know.
Is this something
But
that
they're
you would
more
say, do
inclined to
you think,
believe.
when they sort of ask your opinion? Is that the kind of thing that you might say? That you're more inclined to believe that Valhalla exists?
Yeah. They'd be more inclined to believe that the gods of Valhalla exist because they've met the Valkyries. Now,
Yeah, I
would
think
they
that
would
was
be
the
more
solidifying point.
inclined to
Hmm.
believe that um these places might exist just by reading about them? Because, well, you can look at a map and it'll tell you that a place exists, but does it
Hmm.
really? Is this map true? You know? So
I
there's
think that,
still a question of, if I don't see it myself, is it real?
yeah. I think a lot of this is probably going to get picked up by nobody, who then starts talking and says, you know, well, I fully appreciate that. I am of the same level of doubt myself for a lot of these places. There are some mentions of afterlives that I frankly think are far too out there to exist, but it is not for me to say. I am nobody. What I would say is I do appreciate that we are seeing some crazy beings lately, and I'm not sure that we are supposed to be seeing them. We didn't. We saw Olokoi in the orphanage, and the people in there themselves did not. We saw the Valkyries, and they were shocked that we could see them. The thing is, I think I might need to look into this a little bit more to find out exactly why we are seeing these things. I'm not sure that I have the answers right with me at the moment, but I do have an idea, maybe a clue or a hint. Is always written of in religious texts and spiritual lodges and logs and all other kinds of places that people might write things and libraries and just the idle workings of old people. But it seems like there's a lot of wording that might get taken as one way through history and is now meaning something else. I would need to find out for sure if this is what I think it is, but I might say that when people say those who are touched by death can see these things, I would say that perhaps that's not as metaphorical as people take it. I think that perhaps if you have literally been touched by death, then you might start to see these kind of things. But I would need to go and read up on it, and I think that that might be what I spend my next few days doing. I'm certain that you guys will be good without me. I will need to pack my things shortly and leave. but I will be back, and I'll find you when I can. But I would say that is probably the line that I'm going to be researching.
I put a piece of mint in my mouth before she goes.
She
Oh,
go on.
Ruby just wants to go. Wait, hold on. You guys met the Valkyries and you didn't tell me?
Oh, did we not tell you
Which is true,
that?
by the way. No one told me.
Did we not say she's sort of got caught halfway through giggling with a hand up to her mouth about Ash chewing on mint now, and looks over at the rest of the group with her hand on her hip, like feigning.
What's been happening?
Yeah, like, wait, didn't we? And she gives up the ghost and just sort of shrugs and says, I'm sorry, Ruby. I have been so caught up in guilt over what happened with Olakoi that I'm truly sorry. I should have mentioned that we did see the Valkyries.
It's alright. But you know when you guys do really cool shit without me? Can you just tell
They
me
said
next
next
time?
time we better be dead.
Oh. Well, I feel like we've lived up to that promise. Or we'll
I
live
mean,
up
it
to that.
is kind of like you're supposed to see them when they're doing their job.
We probably won't
Mm.
see them if what we promised happens.
How that's a
Yeah,
good point
we
too.
also let them know about Loki's chest.
You know, there's a lot of people that are after our souls.
Oh, that's gonna be a showdown then.
It's gonna be a party.
Ruby just deadpans at that comment.
Anyone
What
can
the
give me an
space-
insight roll that would be looking at Ruby in this moment. I don't think that all of you would immediately go and look to
Yeah,
Ruby. So if I don't want to see 4 immediate insight rolls, but if
Yeah, I think
anybody
I would.
genuinely would be looking for Ruby's reaction, then you can.
Because of our
Ruby wouldn't be
connection
rolling
with-
an insight. Ruby would be rolling a deception or a persuasion. In
Oh, I know. I
whatever.
was rolling and I was just memeing. I'm sorry. I wasn't rolling
Okay.
deception.
Okie dokie. So then it would be your passive.
Aldrin doesn't notice.
I mean, you would be rolling an insight again, not a perception.
No,
But
I rolled myself a perception to see if Aldrin would notice or not. To like be paying attention enough. To
to
have
even
the
be
insight.
looking at Ruby.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
probably distracted looking out the window.
Well, to be fair, if it's a perception check that you're doing and not an insight check, then you're probably not even aware that Ruby's in the room.
Yeah.
Because her passive stealth is 16.
She's so stealthy.
Yeah, her passive stealth is
She's
16.
so stealthy.
So Ruby
Ruby's
completely
voice is
passes
just
you
coming
by.
in
You've
from
got no
somewhere.
idea.
Aldrin
Yeah.
thinks it's outside, and that's why they're
Yeah.
looking out the window. They're
I was
trying
saying,
to
you hear
find
Ruby's
Ruby
voice.
outside. Like they are looking for Ruby. It's just completely in the wrong place.
Well, to be fair, Ruby's passive deception is actually a 12, so Ash doesn't notice anything in this. Even without trying, Ruby is passing off this inability to, form a facial expression.
I would have looked over at Ruby just because of our shared friendship with the friend. And
Yeah.
I just don't notice anything.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Just seems like Ruby being
Just
Ruby.
Ruby's face. She's just always deadpan, man.
Ruby's always so serious unless you give her a Ruby.
I am going to roll for nobody, though. Nobody looks over towards you, Ruby, and do you have the blue silk anywhere yet? Have you used it as a wrap or anything?
In my head, because Ruby's not a seamstress, Ruby has, for now, tied it around like an upper part of her right arm. So, like, tied it around like the joint between shoulder and arm muscle sort of place, above bicep, basically.
Nice. I think that's where Briar's got a blue thing. Yeah, Briar's got a blue thing tied off at the same spot.
Oh yeah. Oh, anti-original. Maybe Ruby's just just gone, copyright. No, Ruby doesn't know quite how to wear it, but wants to wear it straight away. So it's like a guiding,
Cool.
a guiding thing. It's cotton
Um,
bra.
So you notice that nobody looks over at you with like a knowing look, sort of without trying to give away too many like facial expressions herself. She's just sort of like slyly looking over at you with that down nose look of a friend, of being like, I know your game. But she also has spotted the blue silk as you had walked into the room, and is not going to bring it up. It doesn't call you out on the fact that you're not speaking.
I mean, she's so stealthy, right? So, I mean, Aldrin doesn't know where she is.
Yeah, yeah. Aldrin's like completely wrapped up in the idea of like, you know, Valhalla and Valkyries and gods existing and stuff. And so there's this
It's so
ethereal voice of a
mind-blowing.
cat. Yeah, there's this ethereal voice of a cat coming out through from the outside, maybe.
To be honest, Ruby has spoken to Aldrin via their mind.
Yeah.
So, like, legit, Aldrin could be like, where is Ruby? I know she
Yeah.
can speak to me without
Yeah,
I
yeah.
needing to see her.
But she could be completely somewhere else. I
Yeah.
have no idea. Off,
Well, I
off
mean,
on the roof. sleeping.
Like, tigers are bright orange, and that yet they are perfectly camouflaged in green jungle foliage. It's perfectly understandable that you might see Ruby up against like the wood grain of the walls and not be able to see her at all. Just think that maybe it's her robe hung up somewhere. So
Sneaky
yeah,
beaky like.
yeah, sneaky beaky. So you all continue this conversation. You get towards the very end of your week of downtime. You now all have 1 day left where you are not leveling up, you're not focusing on your regular shit, you're just starting to get yourselves back on top and decide what the plan is from here. What exactly do you think that you would be talking about or focused on or doing independently? What is it that you're all going to be doing? At this point, nobody has left, said her fond farewells to all of you, and has disappeared off in the direction of the rest of the world.
Ruby might slink away to go and speak to Leopold. If she's registered, we might be leaving and have a little bit of a goodbye chat. She wants to do that on her own, so she would have skulked off.
Cool. We could do that now. When you go and find him, he's not at the tavern. You go there and you get informed that that in fact Theo mentions, oh, he's up at the baths. He's having a day off, but he's also going and scrubbing himself down because he feels like he's needed something. So yeah, you go up and you find him at the baths. What do you think that you would be saying to him? Let me just get you both up there.
Thank you. Start off with a bit more of a checking in conversation.
Yeah.
You just greeting and asking, how are you doing, Leopold? I haven't seen you for a few days.
Oh, Ruby. Yes, I'm good. He's got his thumbs like deep into the cracks between his little toe beans, and he's really like working the fur between his toes. Yeah, I'm good. I think. Yeah, no, I'm good. It's hard to know.
You think?
Well, it's hard to know what I am.
What do you mean by what you are?
Well, am I someone's property still? Are they going to come after me and try and find me? Anyway?
Do you?
Yeah, it's.
Do you feel like
makes
property?
me. I lose sleep thinking about it, but at least in my waking hours, I have something to focus on now. So, thank you for getting me this far.
You're welcome. I guess.
I guess I don't
hard
know
to
how
tell
to
someone
feel.
It can take time to learn when you've, not had the opportunity.
We don't really talk about Leopold's appearance because it's never really come up, and I've never done his artwork. But he's a very slender-looking panther-like tabaxi. That he was sought after because of his very shiny, sleek black fur. But the day that he was not sold was because he'd lost it. It had lost its shine because he was so malnourished in the cages, and he just refused to eat from that point on for many years because he knew that that was the thing that was keeping him alive. But that contributed to him remaining as a slave on that ship for so long, because there was always a day that they were thinking, well, at some point he's got to eat, right? Well, you start to see some of the shine coming back to his fur now, at least. That even in this cold climate, with very little oil, on anybody's flesh, that you can at least see the beginnings of the shine that you saw when you were both kids together.
I think Ruby's not going to pressure Leopold to keep talking, but places a hand on his shoulder, just says, I know it can be difficult to work out your place in the world. It happens to everyone, whether they've had our start in life or not, but just remember, keep some pride in yourself and in who you are. You deserve that, friend.
Leo looks up at you, gives you a little bit of a side eye, and chuckles at something and looks back down.
Can I roll an insight into that?
Yep. You don't know what that was. You can ask him. With a 9,
I don't
think
know
you're
if
getting
Ruby
anything.
wants to. No, I don't think Ruby wants to. I think Ruby can make her own conclusions, and at that probably just takes her leave without necessarily saying the words goodbye.
Before you step out through the door, he wades into the water a little bit deeper. He sort of plants his feet, gets them gets the toes spread out so it's nice and stable under the water. Gets himself lowered down. You can see that he's not so much creaking his way down as he used to, but he's more sort of fluid and getting a bit lower and softer and stuff. And his robe is still wrapped around him and all that because he's still a little bit self-conscious, but he doesn't mind that getting wet either. And he looks up at you as you go to leave and he says, Ruby, you're very good at looking after everybody else. I think
maybe
you should listen to what you're saying to other people and say it back to yourself. You are worthy of help.
Ruby nods. Yeah, I think Ruby nods but doesn't say anything. And takes her leave.
And he lets you go. You might be getting stuck on the wall. It's a rotated...
Yeah, I'll let you just wander me back.
Yeah, it's a rotated circle, so it's going to be impossible to walk through on a grid. Yeah, so you have this conversation, and basically he's telling you need to, look after yourself as well. That life isn't all so simple as telling everybody else to do better. You also, you should be proud of yourself and be caring for yourself as well. And you leave him in the sort of semi-warm, semi-tepid water of the public bath. A much healthier, much more independent Leopold than who you found a couple of weeks earlier. Pardon me, just taking a drink. What is everybody else doing? we've got Ruby's final day actions. What's everyone else up to? Don't all speak at once, eh?
I don't know. Sorry.
Well, there's the
well,
idea of planning. Is there any plan that anybody's got that they want to discuss?
We need to figure out where we need to go next.
yeah, that
Yes, we do.
Aldrin would want to speak to nobody before leaving. Cause
Oh, well, that was a couple of days ago.
Away.
Yeah, they left
Huh?
on like the 5th day,
Oh,
so
okay.
you could talk to them before they leave, but we have to like go back
Yeah.
in time a little bit.
Oh well, it would have just been a, you know, it was really nice to meet you, nice to have you with us, and I hope you're safe on your travels.
Thank you so much, Aldrin. You know, I bet that you've seen so many things, and I would love to tap your brain just for all the information. You know, I feel so much alike with you in so many ways. I mean, the horns and the pointy ears alike. Aside, that's pretty big though. But the tail, I see your draconic heritage. I see that you are not 100% what you envisioned for yourself when you were younger. But younger was so long ago, was it not? How old are you now?
Oh, I'm not sure. I haven't really been counting exactly. But a
Over the
long time
table,
has passed.
over the table, we know that you are 120.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot.
Yeah. But yeah, it would also be perfectly normal for someone who is 120 years old to fully lose track, like lose count of the years. Especially when you're when you're an ostracized outcast that doesn't particularly celebrate birthdays with other people.
Yeah. They're not exactly particularly
Yeah.
keeping track. They might still kind of, you know, regard like the yearly time frame as like another season or a year has passed. But
Yeah. So yeah, nobody
yeah.
sort of strokes your left arm just sort of to the elbow, and says, sort of gives you a little squeeze in the elbow and says, "You are a very good person, and I'm blessed to have known you. I will go off and do my research, and I will either come back with it myself, or I will find a way to get the information back to you if I cannot. I will make all efforts to return, though. I am simply so happy to have met each and every one of you, and you are a very special person who I will not forget if I am unfortunate enough to not meet you again in the future."
Well, I hope we can meet again sometime. That'd be nice.
I like your new frog buddies, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have a rather growing collection.
You've still got one or two that have got top hats from Merlin's place, like that look like little dapper frog people. But yeah, they're all they're incredibly venomous. So many poisonous and venomous frogs. Yeah, yeah. She sort of like, this is why she's only touching your elbow, is because she doesn't want to go anywhere near any other part of you, just in case there's some like slime that might rub off and kill her. She's not ready to be nothing just yet, but yeah.
Yeah, no, don't send yourself.
No. So yeah, that she goes off at that point. So last day, preparations, plans. Obviously, Victor's not here for this, so we can clue Victor in and ask if there's anything that he would contribute and plan later, but that'll be next session. So for the time being, what do you think all of you would be talking about in terms of plans?
So, there seems to be activity over to the east. A lot of people are headed that way, I've noticed.
Now that you're mentioning that,
here.
the last few days, the number has increased, where they're more steadily going through now.
There's a lot of people going that way. They said it's some kind of time of year. Do you guys know what they're talking about?
I don't. I've never been to this part of the world.
Me neither.
I wonder if it's somber or joyful occasion.
I mean,
Well, it's pretty cold.
we could always ask at the inn or at the
Tavern.
tavern.
Oh, good point. Maybe Leo's heard something.
Do you think that's something that you would do before you get to the planning stage? See what's going on over, like, see if the tavern keeper can tell you a little bit more before you make your plans?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, if
That's
you're...
Better informed.
I mean, it sounds like you're all in agreement, so we'll just move you over there now then. And then this can be the last part of the session. Theo's in here. Oh, g'day. How's it going?
Oh well, it's chilly.
You don't
Mm,
say. Yeah. It's a little
Yeah.
chilly, you could say that, yeah.
what gave it
Um,
away?
The snow.
I
You know,
think
it
the
sparkles.
biggest thing is the fact that you left the door open on your way in.
Oh,
He goes
that's
over to the
good.
door and closes it. What can I get
Um,
you? You should take a seat. You've been... I've seen you out and about by my house. I think that you've all been working yourself silly for no reason. What can I get you? Sorry, Leo's on his day off.
No worries.
Don't
We're
know if you were
actually
expecting
just
to see him.
kind of curious about where everybody's going. Seems to be a lot of folks are heading east.
Oh, right. Well, a lot of people go in a lot of places. What can I get you?
My insight check why he's dodging the question a bit.
Go for it.
Oh, never mind. I had no idea he's dodging the question.
So a 5, yeah. A 5 is not 100% it.
Right.
I'll have a carrot juice.
Oh, not much better.
Okay.
Nobody's getting it high.
Nope. Hell.
Aldrin, in actual fact, does pick up on the fact that he is dodging the question.
But that's it.
So, sir, though, where exactly is everyone going? Someone mentioned, it's a time of year? Certain time of year or something?
Okay. He gets a little bit closer to the table. Look. There's something over there in the east that well, give me a moment. He walks over to this other table. Sorry, fellas, it's closing time. What? We've only just got our grog. I know, and you can take it with you. Return the little, steins when you get the chance, but not right now. Just leave, please. Thanks. I'll give you another free one when you get back. But bring the steins back with you this time. The last time you left them at home. I know you did. You said they broke. They are wood. They don't break that easy. Alright? Unless your Kathy's having a bad go at you again. Now you listen here. I'm not going to talk about our Kathy. Well, then at least just leave and we don't need to have this conversation. Fine, I'm leaving. But Charlie here's coming with. Yeah, I know. That was the idea. Well, fuck you. Well, fuck you as well. And they all leave. I'm very sorry about that. He goes over and bars and locks the door. And closes the shutters on the windows. Where do I begin?
at the beginning is normally the best spot, right?
And with that, we're going to end our session.
Oh,
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
No! Why you do this to us?
Tell me now.
cliffhanger.
Why? Why you must hide
Speaking-
this information?
Speaking of next session, I'm probably not going to be able to make it.
Yes, yeah, you did tell me that
I
before.
will not be here as well. I have dental surgery.
It is a Halloween night.
My
Yes,
Also,
kid
dental
well,
has
surgery-
a doctor's appointment.
so
Dental
it
surgery on
being
Halloween. Bloody.
it being Halloween though, I was planning on doing the session because it's going to be, you know, Halloween session and all that.
Mhm.
So normally when there's two people, I put it up to the group. What do you want to do? I am more inclined to try and keep the session going, but it's really up to Katie and Tats whether that's okay to do without
I'm
them.
fine with it, yeah.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
You
Okay.
sure?
Just don't forget to tell us what happens.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we always have a recap, and there
Yeah.
are recordings. So
I know,
I
I
would
watched
say that I
it.
do pretty well for telling everybody what happens when it's live streamed to the world. But, you know, you do you.
But, The
Oh, wow,
players
okay.
can easily find out what's going on. The characters have to rely on each other.
Oh, give over. I'm not having that. I'm not listening to your fucking sympathy story. Pull the other one.
Wait, this is live streamed?
Oh.
Uh, do you need a
You're telling
chin
me
rest for
people
that
listening
violin
to
of
us
yours?
Right now.
Look, we are going to find somebody to go and raid right now. And I'm looking
Okay.
down my list because there's a ton of people that I follow who are online, and a few of them have only got a few people in there. I am
Alright, I'll go with ya.
wondering. I
I
might.
usually pick, you pick.
Well, yeah, I know. Usually it is that way around, isn't it? I
Yeah.
am thinking. What do we think about cookie jar pottery?
Cookie's awesome.
Should we go and raid Cookie? Because Cookie's got two people.
Yay.
And
Well,
they're
I'm
just
just
chatting
Before
at
you're
the
talking
moment.
about a crafting channel.
I
Uh,
think might be one of Cookie's only streams for this week as well.
Yeah, they've only just started
because,
10 minutes ago. They're in and they've only
they've
just
got
started 10 minutes
family
ago.
stuff going on. Things.
So we're going to go and raid Cookie Jar Pottery then. We've got 2 raid messages. Raid message number 1 is if you're following, and raid message number 2 is if you are subbed. Copy and paste these into your text chat window if you wish. And we are going to go and raid Cookie Jar Pottery. I hope that everybody has enjoyed this session. Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a lot of fun.
Did
That was a
you
lot of fun.
get what you wanted out of your weeks of downtime?
Yeah.
Great.
Lots of
I'm really
relaxation
interested
from
with the
everybody.
choices that you've each made. Like, Ash being a druid now, and being a cleric
Pardon?
now, and Isabel being a druid. And Ruby not putting another one into Warlock as well. This is all very interesting for me.
Mm-hmm.
I love all of this. But yeah, we
So
are...
what you're saying? Oh, the others are boring.
No, I just like it.
You're able to be mentioned. No,
I will never lie about the fact that I find multiclassing very interesting. I mean, D&D is interesting in general, so you can't really knock it. But the fact that, you know, you can pick to be multiple different things and people and, you know, different classes and try and mix and match and make it more interesting, I think that that's just great. So, yeah, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to bring all of you with me to Cookie Jar Pottery's channel. So let's go do that. Now, thank you everybody for being here and for being awesome, as usual. And remember, if you can't be good to yourself, then at least have fun. Goodbye!
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Pip.